Hello there. In this example we're constructing a truth table. We're actually constructing one for a statement that involves actually three simple statements, P, Q, and R. So to start off with, we would construct our table with the columns for P, Q, and R, and then we start to fill those out. Alright, we fill the P, Q row out the way we normally do if it was just P and Q, except we duplicate everything. And then for the R row, we go through and we alternate true, false, going down each. That way we get all the 8 possibilities for working with these statements. Now in class we looked at 2 different ways to construct a truth table. This time I'm going to use the second method I showed you, where we kind of spread it out and just work on each operation rather than doing pieces and doing a column for each piece. So I'd begin by writing this as negation P or negation of parentheses R and negation Q. Whoops, excuse me. Okay, sorry about that, I bumped a button there. So again, it's negation P or the negation of the quantity R and negation Q. You don't have to do this, but to make it a little clearer, oops, I went a little too far. To make it a little clearer, I've divided the columns up, so I've drawn some lines for each of the different columns, and also went ahead now and I've filled out negation P. Do negation P, we look at the P column, and we go now and write down the opposite values for each one of those. And what else do we have? Well, we have R as a part of our problem, and we already know R, exactly what it is. So all we do is just go ahead and copy the values from the R column down, and then continue to look at what's left. We have this OR statement here, but to know that, we're going to have to know the whole thing over here, this whole negation. We can't do that right yet. Likewise, we can't do the negation until we know the stuff in parentheses. To do the stuff in parentheses, we have to know the AND, but we can't do that yet because we need to know negation Q. So that's where we're at. We're focusing on negation Q. Okay, so we go ahead and do that. We look at the Q column. We're going to write down the exact opposite values because it's negation Q. And so we do so. Now that we know both R and negation Q, we can move to the AND statement. Remember, the AND statement is going to be true when they're both true, or alternatively, if either one of them is false, the whole thing will be false. So we look at those 2 columns, and we go down through row by row applying that condition. So we have true and a false. Since we have a false, the whole thing is false. Then we go down, and we continue in that way. If you need to kind of pause things at some point to keep up, please feel free to do that as you try to fill things in yourself. That would be a great thing to do to practice. And so we go through and do each of our AND statements. Again, anytime we see a false showing up, the whole thing turns out to be false. Now that we know the AND statement, we move over, so okay, now we need to do the negation of all that stuff. So we look at the column here. So okay, we're going to take each of those values and negate it. In other words, write down the opposite. So the negation of false is true, negation of false is true, negation of the true there, the 3rd row, the red T is an F, and we continue all the way down the line. At this point now, we're finally ready to do the OR statement between the 2. And we're going to go through and look at those 2 columns, because it involves the negation of P and the negation of all that other stuff. And so we go through and we apply our condition for OR. We know that an OR statement is true if either one is true. If any of them is true, then it's going to be true. Alternatively, the only time it turns out to be false is when they're both false. So we go through here, false or true, would be true. Looking at the second column, false or true would be true. False or false would be false. And then we just continue down the line applying the condition for the OR statement until we have the whole column. And that was the final operation, so that is our answer for that truth table. So the truth table for that complicated statement is TTFT and then 4 more T's. Hopefully as you start working with truth tables, start getting into the practice of working with them, this will kind of help you out.